Hello gamers and welcome back to the channel here at The Rules Are Fun. I'm the Madcap Gamer and today we are going through Skybound Games Superfight. Superfight is a really simple game. All the components you need to play it are right here in front of you. Basically, a white deck, a black deck, and that is it. It is a party-based game where the idea is that you argue with other players as to which person has presented the best fighter. It is fast, it is super simple, it'll take about as many players as you could possibly get together around a table, and we'll go through the rules of how to play it right now. The first thing to note is that there are a few different styles of gameplay. Now we're going to take you through the basic rules of the game, and then we'll get to some of those different styles later. In each and every game, no matter what style that you're playing, the players will draw 3 white cards and 3 black cards. Like so. Now the white cards are your character deck. They will contain some sort of superhero, some character from TV, any sort of character that will be used, and they are your fighter for this particular round. The black deck, by contrast, will be attributes that you can give to your fighter in order to help them win this particular fight that they are playing. Now in the basic setup of the game, the first player, usually the youngest at the table, will select 1 white card and 1 black card to go with it. For instance, Iron Man, who is 10 stories tall. They will then discard the other cards of their hand into the respective discard piles. The player on their left will then go through their own 3 white and 3 black cards and present their character who is going to challenge this character to a fight. For instance, a Velociraptor who controls the weather. This is where the fun begins. The other players at the table who are not directly involved in this fight become the judges, and they will decide who is going to win between our 2 opponents here. Players that have played their cards will start to make their case. After about a minute or so, the game takes on a twist whereby each player has to take 1 additional black card and play it on their character. Now this card may increase their ability to fight, or it may handicap them significantly. For instance, we have Iron Man 10 stories tall, who can fly, but only 2 feet above the ground in this instance. Our Velociraptor, who controls the weather, is now riding a depressed centaur. Players continue to make the case as to why their character would win the fight and defeat the other. The players around the table, after a couple of minutes, will make the decision by voting for who the winner is. Once the winner has been decided, the loser's cards will all go to the discard pile, while the winner's cards remain on the table. Play goes to player number 3, who will choose their own white and black card out of the 3 of each that they have in order to take on the winner of the previous round. Once again, the 3rd player will have to add a random black card to their pile, but nothing happens to the winner's cards, who remain on the table as they are. Debate continues as player number 3 tries to explain why their character would win in a fight against the one on the board, and once again, the winner will get a point, while the loser discards their cards back into the pile, and play continues in this fashion. A good thing about this game is that there are no set rules or time limits, so the game goes for as long as it is still amusing for you and your friends to argue over who would win these fights. One suggestion that I would make in this style of gameplay is that instead of discarding the cards to the center, discard them to the winning player's side, where he can create a pile of defeated opponents, and you can keep track of the point system that way. The second way to play this game is called a Battle Royale, and that's where everyone joins in at the same time. All players again draw 3 white cards and 3 black cards and select 1 character and 1 attribute which they are going to play. Going around the table, each player will reveal their 1 character and 1 attribute that will be joining this Battle Royale fight. Everyone is fighting at the same time now. Once you're finished going around the table, usually having a little initial debate about who is winning so far or who is definitely eliminated, judging by the other characters on the board, then you will go around and place 1 random black card on each and every character as you go. The entire table is involved in the discussion, and usually it's a process of elimination as to finding 2 or 3 of the players who will definitely not win against some opponents on there, and it comes down to the top 2, and the rest of the table once again votes as to who would be the winner. There are many more ways to play this game, but I'll just give you one more example because it's one that we find the most fun in my group of friends. Now after a while, whether you're playing Battle Royale or the original gameplay, you are still arguing over who is the best fighter, and this can get a little bit draining for a while, but don't fear, you can play a very different version of the game which keeps it fresh. One of the ways to play this game which we find the most fun in our group of friends is the date night version. Now in this version, one of the players will have to sit out as the judge. This person is going on a dinner date with the characters from the deck. Each player that is not the judge will draw their 3 cards, 3 white and 3 black as before, but this time they are going to choose one of each to play as the person's dinner date. This time they sort of adjust their choices based on what they know of the judge. For instance, would the judge prefer to go out with Mr. Rogers or the devil? A tough decision in itself. Once again though, each one has a black card to go with it. In this case, Mr. Rogers has a pogo stick. In this case, the devil has tiny little T-Rex hands. Finally, once again, once all the players have put down their options for the dinner date, each player draws one random black card that will either help or hinder their chances of scoring a date. In this case, Mr. Rogers on a pogo stick, turns out there is 100 Mr. Rogers on pogo sticks, or the devil with his tiny T-Rex hands is also wearing cement shoes. Which one will your judge prefer to go on a date with? That's where the argument begins and where the fun starts. That's all there is to it. Now you know how to play it, but why should you play it? Superfight really is a party-style game in the same vein as Cards Against Humanity, where the purpose of the game is less about winning and more about laughing, challenging, getting into arguments with your friends, and basically having a good time. Much like Cards Against Humanity, Superfight comes with a series of expansion packs which you can use to change up and keep the game fresh and interesting. For instance, there's more geeky science-related characters, and you can also get more adult deck expansions to play the game with. The thing that separates this from a game like Cards Against Humanity is that while Cards Against Humanity, even though it has expansions, has the same formula to it, as you can see there are different styles of gameplay, and the makers have tailored the game to further different variations on play. But the styles given in this video are my 3 favorites by far. Basically the original, the Battle Royale where everyone gets to play at the same time if you've got a larger group and you don't want to have people waiting too long for their turn, and the date night version, which is where you get some of your more hilarious combinations and think about specifically the judge being in this situation going on a date with this person. The other thing that makes Superfight great is because it's all characters and abilities and fighting each other and arguing over who would win, it is just as entertaining for younger people in your group, kids, as it is for the adults and the die-hard nerds in the group. Anyone who has ever argued over who would win out of Superman, Goku, Thor and the Incredible Hulk will enjoy this game, and the attribute cards that change things up and make them a little more random keep the game fresh along with the styles of play. It has lots of replayability in the same group, and again it's fast and easy for parties and get-togethers without people having to stop everything and sit around and learn a lot of rules for a board game. There are a lot of different board games out there, have a lot of different great things about them, but as far as party games go, Superfight emerges as champion. Thanks for tuning in again to The Rules Are Fun. Enjoy yourselves out there and enjoy Superfight.